Kwekskina, my name is Alexandre Nequado, and I'm with my colleague André Dudemaine, and this week we have KG Edwards as a guest. KG, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure. Sego, my name is KJ. I'm a digital media artist and analog media artist. My family is Mohawk on my mom's side from Kahnawa, and then my dad was French from Longueuil. I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, Treaty 6, and now I'm living in Toronto and kind of hopping around all over, trying to travel when I can, and then this is where I'm working from. So. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Can you speak about your works? You actually you won an award at the last festival in Montreal. Can you speak about the film?
Oh, absolutely. It was such an honor to screen. So I got to screen a film called Future Ready Cusp, and we screened in Ganawage, and I also screened one called Istén, which is My Mother. Mm-hmm. They're both analog films. So I shot them on 16mm on a Bolex camera. Future Ready Cusp it's really experimental. So I was really surprised and thrilled that it screened at the festival. And basically it's all black and white. I filmed it on this really high contrast film stock. It's called 3378. It's a Kodak film stock, which you can buy from my work, Liaison of Independent Filmmakers, Toronto. I'm not trying to plug it. I'm just saying you can't buy it directly from Kodak. You have to buy it from a place like Lyft. And I hand processed all of the film in coffee. So I made like a developer through, it's called Kahnawa, and it's coffee based. And I can tell you all about that if you want more info and like how to make it and stuff. And it's an experimental film that is about kind of these like 4 seasons, these kind of like and also kind of like earth, air, fire, water, moving through these kind of energies, but it's looking at the earth and looking at climate change through an experimental lens, and using a sound design to really emphasize that. So the sound design brings you through this kind of like quiet moment of like air and mountains, and I filmed a lot of eagles and stuff in BC and birds, and then you move through a sequence that is more kind of like earthy, if that makes sense. And then into like into the inferno, into the fire sequence, and that I used phytograms, and then into a water sequence. It's just kind of coming with the earth taking itself back. So that's a very long way to say that is the film that screened and then won the award, and it was such an honor. And I put all that money back into getting more film stock. So.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's interesting because often, well, it's not like it was a few years ago, but often, again, with some in the public, many persons are still expecting the Aboriginal filmmakers to do documentary about abuse, about the difficulty, or about the traditions. And but more and more artists are breaking this stereotype and are taking some forms or medias that are not the one that is expected by when you see Aboriginal filmmaker. Can you speak how your Mohawk heritage is influencing, is present in your works?
Absolutely. So I totally agree. I think often as Indigenous artists, we're expected to make a certain kind of content, and especially in film, they expect us to make like kind of narrative work that is about like that is maybe more recognizable, even to a non-Indigenous audience. Like they want it to be like more like what is expected and kind of like stereotype, kind of characters and stuff. And in documentary as well, I think I have friends working on stuff that's more comedic, and they're having trouble finding funding because it's like, oh, where's the kind of like trauma through line? And it's totally important, absolutely important that we do make films about like what has been done to us and our trauma and things, but just that we should be able to also expand beyond that or make works that are hybrid in genre or tone, And we're starting to see more and more that we're able to kind of break out of that. I do have a short narrative film that is about two sisters who grew up in foster care, and they go home to like their home res to kind of learn about culture. One of them is sick, and it's a film about kind of like moving past the pain of having lost out on years with family and with culture. And that one is kind of maybe more, I think was more along that line of what you're talking about, where like it's what's expected of us. But I still think it's a really beautiful film and very important. But there was this part of me that's like, I do have this desire to make experimental films. And you don't see that many experimental films being made by Indigenous folks, not because we don't want to make them, but just because like the industry and the scene is so heavily non-Indigenous influence. So, but we're seeing it more and more. Like I'm seeing people come to my work wanting to do analog workshops, lots of Indigenous folks. We have a collab with Imaginative as well to bring in an Indigenous director every year to make an analog film. Yeah, and then so my other two short films, one is called Istén, and that is about my mom. After she passed away, she visited me in a dream, and this was like years later, and that was kind of like a spiritual experience. And I would say like that does come from my personal beliefs and my Mohawk beliefs of family can visit you in dreams. Anyone can visit you in dreams. I think Creator can speak to you through dreams, and it's up to us to decipher which dreams are like our subconscious kind of working through things and which dreams are special. And I think that that's really important. And that film, I tried to really let like whatever I was filming, like especially nature, kind of like really speak through and like to not pre-plan too much. With Future Ready Cusp, that was like, I was making that while I was in school. I was at Emily Carr in Vancouver. And the reason it's so experimental is actually that I was pushing back on feedback I was getting from non-Indigenous faculty where they were like, I don't see what's Indigenous about this. And at one point I was like, oh, I want to make a kind of like punk rock experimental film. And they're like, what's punk rock about it? I was like, I don't know how to explain like that like aesthetic and tone and like intention may not always be so overt, but that's kind of what the institution expects sometimes, is that you make something so blatantly, like your thesis versus the work are like completely matching each other instead of there being kind of like leeway there. And I was getting really frustrated. I was like, what do you want me to like only film like sage and feathers? Like, what do you want me to film? I'm filming what I want to film. I'm filming what I feel like I need to film. And there is this connection to nature in the film that is really strong. And there's no humans at all. There's no infrastructure. There's no human infrastructure, no like buildings, nothing. So to me, I'm like, I think that looks, to me, that's part of my Mohawk like belief system coming through, is like, I want to set nature as the protagonist in this. But I found that often wasn't enough, especially in critique, like some of the feedback I would get. I just had to bite my tongue because I'm like, what do you want me to say? And I'm not saying we can't film these other things or these other aspects of culture. I think it's important, but it's when you choose not to that all of a sudden people try to control the visuals you're putting out. And it's frustrating for sure.
Your mic is off, André.
Thanks for letting me rant, André.
It's interesting because this is almost the same thing that Seth Cardinal, a key artist we had in the podcast last week, was telling the same thing. At the art schools, they were, in a sense, orienting the way he should have created his own works. And he said, I was always doing differently that, and it, in a sense, his own formation as artist has been counter-current against the teaching he was receiving at the art school, which is a way to form an artist too, certainly.
Yes, through our frustrations, more inspiration will come.
And speaking of Imaginative, they are in June now. Do you have news of it?
Yeah. So the festival's going to take place in June. It's in the first. It's like kind of at the end of the first week, and it's still going to be 4 days. And I actually live. Maybe I should say this, but I live with some folks who work for Imaginative, and I have friends who work for Imaginative, and they were saying that they're really promoting like more activations this year because it's going to be summer. So there's going to be lots of stuff happening outside and at like ancillary venues, like little activation pop-ups and stuff, which is really cool. And I'm super excited. I don't think that's secret information, so it's fine to say. But you know, like we're having coffee and I'm like, hey, what's going on? It looks like it's going to be amazing, like a really great festival. And I'm excited for it to happen in June because I think maybe it'll be easier for folks to be able to come from all over. November, or was it end of October before? End of October.
It was in October.
Yeah, but it's cold here in October, you know? Like,
let's hope that it will goes well in June. We will see anyway. And speaking about it, probably we can, Alexandre, try to have someone from to speak about imaginative in the next podcast we have. So
Sure.
it will be interesting.
Yeah, you absolutely should. And I was going to say maybe some autochthone folks could come hang out, and we'll host you here in Toronto. And
yes. How come do you became a filmmaker?
You know what's funny is I actually was in theater for a long time, and I went to theater school, and I had like a really bad experience. Also, it's going to be not trauma dumping, but my parents passed away while I was trying to do my first kind of round of schooling when I was in my early 20s. I ended up dropping out of school, and I still acted here and there in theater stuff though, right? But I always wanted to get into film, and I didn't know how. And I was actually working as an usher at TMU, Toronto Metropolitan University. They have like a film festival for their students. And I was working as an actor because like I was just working all kinds of jobs, whatever. As an actor, you're usually working like, I'll be like serving tables, bartending. You do whatever gig you can in between performance. And so I'm ushering for their film festival. And I remember seeing the short films that the students made. And I was like, these are students? And this was like 2015. I was blown away by the quality. And I was like, I don't know how to describe it. I like went home and I couldn't think about anything else. And I was like, maybe I could make a film. And I was like, well, I've been thinking about going back to school. And so I went through the process of applying to TMU, and I got in the next year because I had like some arts background. So I could, in the portfolio, I didn't submit any film work. It was like I submitted like a painting and then like a script I wrote for theater. And I got in, and then that was the journey. Started in 2016, and it was film production. So I did go to film school. I don't think you need to go to film school to become a filmmaker. That's the route that I chose because it happened in this kind of funny way. And I really loved it. I had a great time. I love TMU. And then the film I told you about, Meet the Sky, about the two sisters, though that film was my thesis film. And I met some really incredible people that I'm still friends with through that program, and I'm still working with, and that I've made some productions with as well. And yeah, once I started working in film, it felt really right in a way that nothing else did. And I still have a bread and butter job. Like I'm working right now. I'm in the edit suite. But I think working in the arts just feels right. And like you don't make much money, but it's like, now I'm able to I know how to make my own films. Like I know how to work analog cameras, and I can work digital cameras, and I can make stuff very low budget and also kind of like have my, bread and butter job too. But it feels right, if that makes sense.
And in the future, are you looking to be more an experimental filmmaker or a dramatic filmmaker?
Why can't I do it all? That's what I ask. I want to do it all. Let's do it.
Yeah, good.
Totally. I think, let's do it all.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at the story for the dramatic film, do you expect to work with writers, or you have already the script and the script you will write already in your mind?
I would love to do both. I am working on a feature version of Meet the Sky. I got some development funding to do that, and that through ISO, Indigenous Screen Office, and Canada Council for the Arts. So I just want them to shout out. Yeah, I want to thank you to those folks. And that I'm writing on my own, but it's like you need folks to help you still. So like I need to, once I've really got it down, I need to do like table reads with my actors, and also a couple of mentors are going to help me work through the script, and I should get it story edited. But also collaborating. I think you're more talking about like, yeah, like working as a team and writing, or like writer's room kind of thing. Is that what you mean? Or like where a group writes together? Like that would be really cool. I've always wanted to have a group of friends where we're just like, let's make something, and we like write a big script and just make it. I think I'm almost there. I think, I don't know, you've probably seen through your festival work and through just the scene in Quebec is also really big. Like the Indigenous film scene is like really starting to kind of like take roots across the country. And I think a lot of people are starting to collaborate more. And I think that that's entirely possible. We should start, yeah, some kind of special writer's room or something. I don't know how to make this stuff happen. I would love to collaborate with people.
Yeah. We noticed, well, it was obvious. Last year was the first year in the Montreal Festival where almost all the screenings, the main part was a feature-long film, and most of them by Indigenous filmmakers.
Yeah.
So this is really a switch, a change. And also, I know that they published, well, I wrote one of the chapters of this book that has been recently published. And
Show us the name, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it's a Routledge that you cannot buy this. It's, wow, the price is awful. But the electronic version is okay. You can buy the electronic version.
I'll write a grant to be able to get the book to get the
Yeah, in the introduction, they say now, 10 years ago, each festival we were fighting to have the 2 or 3 feature films that were there on the in the Indigenous world worldwide, and now there is no festival that can pretend to screen all the films and all the feature films that have been made in 1 year.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, this is really a big switch. So it's interesting now because the feature film that was years ago something that Aboriginal filmmakers were looking at it like impossible dream, almost impossible dream. Now it's something that happens, and it becomes more and more normal. So I think if you want to take that path, the road is open to you.
And I think a lot of that has to do with this, like, a collaborative aspect too, is that, like, I feel like people in the Indigenous film community want to help each other.
Yeah.
Like, you'll see people be like, oh yeah, I know this person, they want to help you out. Like, if you need to, like, set up a crew or something, like, we're all excited to help each other. And I think you don't necessarily see that in other film scenes because people are so competitive, but I feel like it's less like that in our scene. And I think that's really beautiful. What's helping so many people make their first feature and be able to do this work.
Yeah, because it's like a birth of a nation. I don't know if we can say that. Birth of nations. Because this is something that is so new, so exciting. So I understand that people want to work together to make it happen, and this is a good period for Aboriginal arts, I think.
Yeah, because we want to see each other's films. Like, I want to see what people are making. I want to hear what they have to say. Like,
Yeah.
I'm excited. It's so exciting to identify more and more with what's coming out too. Like, you know, like so often growing up, it's like you have to watch something and you have to like. I remember like pretending certain characters were Indigenous in shows to like identify easier because like we didn't see that as much growing up. You know, like think about shows like Roswell and Buffy, and I'd be like, more characters. I'm just gonna pretend in my mind. This person's Indigenous.
Yes, I remember J. Soul, a Ojibwe artist, doing a funny poster of films, taking classic films and making it Indigenous on the poster.
I love his work. It's so good.
Yeah, but now I think he can do. I asked him if he can work on our poster for the next Montreal First Peoples Festival.
Oh, nice.
So now we can work directly on Indigenous poster.
Yeah, our own iconography. Like, let's make it
without
work.
doing the twist through the Hollywood movies. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I know you are really, really busy, so I think you have to run to work. That's what you told us.
My coworkers are like, yeah, watch on the front and stuff, but we're really busy here at Lift, which is good. So just want to say we're a safe space for indie filmmakers and Indigenous filmmakers. So
okay, so
spread the word.
Do you have something to add before we let you go to your work?
I don't know, just thank you. Thank you so much for reaching out and for offering me time on your podcast. And this is the first podcast I've ever done, so I was nervous. I might be screaming into the mic. I may have ruined all the audio. I don't know. But also, I had such a good time at the festival in August that was on autochthony. And it was, you guys took really good care of me as a filmmaker, I have to say. Put me up in a hotel for 2 nights. I got like stipend, like maybe I shouldn't say all the things we got, but I'm like, I felt very supported. And then it was also such an honor to screen in Kanien'kehá twice. Thank you so much for making that happen and collaborating with the film festival there too, with Marion. It was like, it was just not a lot of festivals do it right, but you do it right, so.
Well, anyway, we are waiting for your next works to have the honor and the pleasure to welcome you again at the Montreal Festival.
Yeah, thank you so much. Nyawa.
Maybe just a few words to say that in Trois-Rivières, at the end of the month, they have Aboriginal Weeks at the university. Now we have your compatriot, Alexandre, Véronique Hébert, who teach at the university, and also Jacques Newashish, another at Quebec, who is elder in residence at the university. So March 25th, we will be there to screen some films at the university under as Montreal First Peoples Festival. So if you are in Trois-Rivières, you can probably connect to the activity looking at the website of the UQTR, la Université du Québec à Trois-Rivières. So I think this is time to say Matashi.
Yeah, this is a short one, but I know that you told us that you are busy today.
Well, I can't stay if you want, but it's up to you. I probably said it all.
Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure. And
thank you.
Well, I think you can do as many podcasts you want. You are really, really perfect.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, merci.
Miigwech, Matashi.
Attaché.